So the question is, a farmer finds that if she plants 75 trees per acre, each tree will yield 20 bushels of fruit. She estimates that for each additional tree planted per acre, the yield of each tree will decrease by 3 bushels. How many trees should she plant per acre to maximize her harvest? Also, find a rigorous algebraic solution for each problem. So the first thing in tackling this problem is we need to define what x is and what y is. All right, this is so as not to get confused. So x is going to equal the number of trees per acre. All right, the number of trees we wish to plant per acre. And then y is going to equal the number of bushels per tree that each tree will yield per tree. All right, so the question actually gives us a point. The question says that if she plants 75 trees, if x is equal to 75, that each tree is actually going to yield 20 bushels. Y equals 20. If I plant 75 trees, it's going to spit out that each tree is going to be 20 bushels, or yield 20 bushels, all right? So we have a point here, all right? Now the question goes on to say that she estimates that for each additional tree planted per acre, the yield of each tree will decrease by 3 bushels. So every time the x value increases by 1, the number of bushels per tree decreases by -3. So every time this x value goes up by 1, we have a -3 decrease in the amount of bushels per tree, which is going to give us a slope of -3. All right? So now that we have a slope and that we have a point, we can actually plug this into point-slope form. So just a reminder of what point-slope form is. It is y minus y1 is equal to m multiplied x minus x1. All right? This is the general form for point-slope form. All right? There's the old y equals mx plus b. That's one way of doing it, but we're not going to use that way. We're using this way instead. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right? So we have our x1 right here. We have our y1 right here. And then we have our m right here. So plugging that in, that's going to give us the equation 20. It's going to give us the equation y minus 20 is equal to -3. Don't forget the parentheses. X minus x1, 75. Now, just remember with this formula, it's always going to be y minus the point, x minus the point. All right? The point comes second, right here. All right, so then we're going to just simplify this equation a little bit. So we're going to bring that 20 over to the other side. We're going to add 20 to both sides, and we're going to multiply this -3 out. We're going to have -3x, -3 multiplied by 75. Let me just do that on the calculator real quick. Multiplied by 75. That's going to give us -3x minus a -225. And then we're going to add 20. All right, and you don't have to do the steps all in one go. You can break it down and simplify it as however you like. But we know that minus a negative, we can actually change it to adding a positive. We can just change the subtraction to an addition, and that makes this negative a positive. So then we have -3x plus 225 plus 20, and this is just going to simplify into y equals -3x plus 245. All right? So this is not the end of the problem. This is actually not what the problem is asking, but we need this formula in order to figure out the answer. So what does this formula do for us? Well, this formula, if we plug in any number of trees we wish to plant per acre, we will then figure out how many bushels will be yielded per tree. If I plant 75, and if I put 75 into this formula, we can just check this. 75 times -3 That's going to equal negative 225. Negative 225 plus 245. Oh gosh, my calculator. Plus 245. That's going to equal 20. All right, 20 right here. So why is this important? Why do we need this formula? Well, think back to what the question is asking. The question is asking, how many trees should she plant per acre to maximize her harvest? So if we multiply the number of trees per acre with the number of bushels per tree, we're going to equal the total amount of fruit, the total amount of bushels. Total number bushels. All right, so if I have 75 trees per acre and each of those trees has 20 bushels of fruit, I do 75 times 20, and that's going to equal 1,500 fruit. 75 times 20, which is going to equal 1,500 fruit. All right, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do x multiplied by y to equal the total amount of bushels. All right, see if you can do that before going on. All right, so this new total number, this new t, is going to equal x multiplied by y, which is negative 3x plus 245. All right, so then if we simplify this out, we're going to get t is equal to negative 3x squared plus 245x. And this is the formula that we need. All right, now we're trying to find the point in this parabola, because whenever we graph this, if we graph this, this is going to look like this. All right, so we're trying to find this point. We're trying to find this point because this is the maximum of the parabola, and it's going to be this x value that we need to answer the question. All right, this x value right here is going to be the amount of trees that we're going to plant per acre. That's going to yield us the maximum amount of bushels. All right, like the maximum amount of total bushels, not bushels per tree, but total bushels. And in order to do that, we use the handy formula, negative b divided by 2a, in order to figure out what x value is going to give us the maximum. So then whenever we do that, b in this case is 245, so we have negative 245 divided by 2a. A in this case is negative 3. Whenever we multiply all that out, and 2 times negative 3, I use my calculator for simple math like that. So we have negative 245 divided by negative 6, negative 245 divided by negative 6. That's going to give us an answer of 40.8333. All right, this is our answer. So what is this in context? This means that if we plant 40.8333 trees, we're going to get the maximum amount of total bushels. All right? So if we plant like 60 trees, that's going to give us more bushels per tree, but in the end, we're going to end up with less bushels. So this is the smartest thing to do if we want the total amount of bushels. Now, to give it even more context, you can't really plant 0.8333 of a tree. So it's a little bit more accurate to say the best amount of trees to plant would be 41. So you can round up or you can put this. Either or I feel like would be fine. So anyways, that is the answer to this problem.